Is it a sin to have sex before marriage?
Yeah, we got the same Bible. Yes.
Did Jamal Bryant just take a bold stance on biblical Christianity? Let's jump into this video with Cam Newton.
Today, how have you, or do you understand the difference, or is there a saying, let me just say it like this. Is there any facts to new church and old church?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Tell me the name of the church you grew up in.
Holy Zion Center of Deliverance.
Okay. You saw people in town while you were growing up, hey, I go to Holy Zion.
Yes, sir.
This generation doesn't identify the name of the church, they identify the name of the pastor.
Wow.
And I think people are wedded to the individual more than they are the institution.
Oh, wow.
Which is very dangerous.
Yes, sir.
Because it puts the pastor in a pedestal that, quite frankly, we don't belong on.
Correct.
And so I think that we've got to go back to focusing on what is the church. Church had a sense of community, had a sense of family,
Right.
a sense of relatability. So the old church, we called each other brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so.
Correct.
The new church, we networking.
So I'm gonna be honest. Jumping into this conversation, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Jamal Bryant has said some off-the-wall stuff in the past, and Cam Newton has had some wild takes before. But I do think this is a good take by Jamal Bryant. You'll hear people say things like, I'm not going to church unless so-and-so is preaching. For me, this brings to mind the verse where Paul says, are we looking to honor God or are we looking to honor man? Of social media has made it easier for people to follow pastors and, in a sense, neglect their local church. You have people who think that watching a sermon online is the same thing as going to your local church. It's not. One thing I disagree with is the notion that this is more of a problem with the newer generation. I think this is an issue across the board. Looking at it from a positive side, right? Things that the church is doing well. I think a lot of larger churches are doing a good job of mitigating this by having a teaching team. So it's not always the same person speaking, but it's a rotation of speakers. This is an effective way for changing this whole mindset of celebrity pastors.
Walking up the steps or walking at all,
Yeah.
they just prefer you to go to a doctor, take a pill, and then you take a back shot picture, you take a photo in the mirror, and then boom, that get all the likes. They get all the comments.
Because social media is like church. We only show the success. We never show the process.
To say that social media is like church is a little crazy to me, but I do see the point he's trying to make. When we only show the successes within the church, people will think that there's not room for them, right? That there's not room for them and their problems and their issues because the church is only for success, right? It's only for successful people. So if you're not successful, you might feel like church is not for you. The reality is church is made up of people and all people have problems, right? Things that they're struggling with, sins that they're battling, issues that they're going through. And we should strive to create a space for people to be comfortable sharing these things, right? We should model what it looks like to resolve problems in community. In the book of Acts, the early church faces a problem where Gentile believers didn't feel like Gentile widows were being provided for as they should. They bring this conflict to the leaders and then they appoint other leaders to address it. This is an example of showcasing the process. The church was growing. It was successful, at least in the sense of, more people coming in. They had a problem and they showed the process of them kind of working through it. I think this is a good example of that.
They have this saying now in urban world. I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Yes.
What does that mean, Pastor?
Nothing.
Okay.
It means absolutely nothing. We're all spirit beings having a human existence, but people who are spiritual, but you're not religious, you just in the galaxy, just floating.
Right.
You're just praying to some higher being. What higher being? There has to be some acknowledgement that is higher than self.
Correct.
That puts us in a place of humility to realize I am not in charge,
Right.
but there is a power that is greater than I am.
But is because I hear it more than not.
Yeah.
And going back to something that you said in regards to we're at an all-time low of people.
Yeah. People want a spiritual connection.
Yes.
And they don't know where to land. They keep spinning the block trying to find, what is it? Is it in incense? Is it in black soap? Is it in waist beads? Is it in meditation? Is it in Pilates? They're trying to find something. People who don't believe in God, but got scripture tattooed on their bodies.
Hello.
I do think that there is an important distinction between being spiritual and being religious. The way the world defines being spiritual is basically living your best life with no rules or authority. Do what you want, do what's best for you. You are your own authority. You are your own God. This idea of spirituality has more in common with the Greek gods and Roman beliefs than it does with religious or religion in the sense that we think of today. When people say that they are religious, they are saying that they adhere to a set of rules, not in a legalistic sense, but they realize that those rules are for their own good. People who are religious answer to an authority higher than themselves. And this authority isn't just a force, but much more. In the Christian worldview, this authority is Jesus. He is the one we ultimately answer to, whether you're a Christian or not. I do agree with his take that people are seeking a spiritual connection. Right? They're seeking a spiritual connection and don't know where to land. When we look at the studies, this is what they bear out. We've been seeing this consistently for the past few years. This is across demographics, right? Not just in the black church or with black Christians. This is across the board. How can we, as Christians, help them see that what they are looking for isn't a force, but a person? It isn't a what, but a who.
Is it a sin to have sex before marriage?
Yeah, we got the same Bible. Yes.
How do we avoid that, or how can we make it like work with me, Pastor?
Yeah, no, I'm saying it is working through. Paul said, when I would do good, evil stands in my way. It is.
That's
yes.
what my issue is with the church.
Yes.
And that's personal. It ain't
Yes.
got nothing.
Yes.
We ain't talking about, man, Pastor, how do I stay sane
Yes.
when everything around me is insane?
Yes. I'll say it to you backwards. I can't imagine where God would have taken me if I had sexual discipline. I am nowhere near the orbit of what my possibility was if I had self-discipline. My greatest enemy has been me. Not my ex, not racism, not the system. It's been me. And once I have a full scope that I had become a terrorist of self-sabotage.
Shout out to Jamal Bryant for saying it how it is. Listen, he took a lot of heat a couple of years ago for not being clear when it comes to this issue about sex before marriage. And he kind of left the door open for interpretation. So big kudos to him for calling it what it is. It's fornication. Also, big props again to Jamal Bryant for being vulnerable here and sharing how his lack of self-discipline limited what God wanted to do with him and through him. Cam says something along the lines of, how do I stay sane when all this, insane stuff is around me, right? It's not easy, but it's simple. You keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. That doesn't mean that all those things around you are going to magically go away, but your eyes are fixed. They're focused on who Jesus is and what he has done for you. And that will help you stay sane, right? That will help you overcome those temptations and those struggles that are coming at you, from everywhere. Fix your eyes on Jesus. 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.